Yeah, it's been my observation, Joel, that generally speaking, when in such a situation as you described, a preacher who is unconverted, false teacher, he will either never talk about sexual immorality, just never, or I've seen some cases. I've seen this a few times in my ministry, in my travels. It's something he always teaches on.
Oh.
I've seen that too, and it's almost like me thinketh thou doth protest a bit too much, one of those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So they either never talk about it, or it's a hobby horse for them, and it's almost like a way of trying to distance themselves from doing something that they know full well they are themselves doing, and it's like it, they're trying to,
Like a cover.
yeah, cover. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
I've seen that too. I've seen that too. In fact,
I'm glad you pointed that out. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm thinking of one man in particular that I knew many years ago as a pastor, and there were two things that he was always harping on. Always. I mean, almost every sermon he preached, these two things would come up in one way or another, no matter what text he was in. And in all fairness, he was not an expositor at all. He was just kind of a topical preacher. But anyway, two things: fidelity to your wife and alcohol. He was always harping, men, be faithful to your wife, be faithful to your wife. And don't you touch alcohol. Don't let that stuff ever touch your lips. Turns out he was having an affair with the head deacon's wife, actually, and he was an alcoholic. He was a drunk.
Yep, he was. And I'm glad you used the word. He was a drunk. The biblical word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. You're right. You know what? You're right. Now that I think about it, I can think of a couple stories myself. I think it's the cover fire. It's the yeah. But you're right. So it's don't touch it at all. They just don't even talk about this particular topic. It's not in their ministry or preaching at all, or in order to try to somehow cover their tracks, that's all they're ever addressing. On that note, shifting gears, but just barely. One of the things that I noticed with Carl Lentz in particular, he would always wear the deep V T-shirts, and almost. I can't prove it, but man, it seems like he was getting a spray tan from time to time, or so. It just seemed very, very, very concerning. You see this with a lot of guys. Stephen Furtick, same kind. Yeah. Like $10,000 sneakers, and stuff like that. Or, but it's not just the money, right? It's not just the money, but it's vanity. It's just so vain. I mean, such an emphasis, and I guess my point is. I think that's a good warning to Christians too, that, sometimes we think we can manage sin instead of mortifying the flesh, right? That we're supposed to put sin to death. But a lot of times what we do is instead of killing it, we subdue it. I always think of Batman as an illustration. It's like at some point, it's just like, Batman, I think you should just kill Joker. Right? You keep tying him up and subduing him or knocking him out or handing him over to the police. And, and I mean, theologically, Batman is a vigilante. All right. So he would need to be Caesar, but Caesar still used the sword. By golly, don't just, it's not that God gave the handcuffs to Caesar, but he gave the sword to Caesar. Yeah. And there are things according to God's law that, and so changing that from issues of social, societal justice, not social justice, but justice in society, changing it from that to sin in individuals, it's the same mentality. It's not a physical sword, but the sword of the Spirit. Yeah. We're called to mortify the flesh, not just manage it. And I think sometimes we need to realize these things are connected. There's a sliding scale when it comes to sexual immorality and perversion. And vanity, and constantly, each tuft of hair being exactly, placed, and there's a certain level of caring so much about physical appearance that I think you're kidding yourself. You are kidding yourself to say, well, I just really, care about my physical appearance and just want to be healthy, have healthy practices, and to think that that's not flowing at all into lust. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And, you're talking about guys like Stephen Furtick and Carl Lentz. When you look at them, you're exactly right. They wore the tight tee, or in Furtick's case, he still does, but the real tight shirts. And, they obviously work out. And Stephen Furtick, when you look at a picture of Stephen Furtick from, I don't know, like 10 years ago, I mean, he was this scrawny guy. Now he's like Lou Ferrigno now, and he's all hulked up. And you can tell he's got, I mean, he's arrogant. He shouts, he rages. He's clearly bringing attention to himself. Carl Lentz, same way, brings attention to himself, wearing these tight shirts and showing his muscles and all that.
Wait. Real quick, before you go, do me a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell so you'll be notified with all our new content as it comes out on a daily basis. And if you're willing to support this ministry, you can do so by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Thanks so much. God bless.